My name's Matt. So welcome to Sunday Assembly. We are here today to gather. We gather once a month to live better, help often, wonder more. We have events all throughout the month, and we'll tell you about more of that later at the end of the gatherings today. We are having some technical difficulties today. We're missing a cable, and Tom's driving home and coming back with that. So
it's not an HDMI cable, is it?
it is.
You want me to run and go get mine from my TV? Would that help?
Tom will be back. So anyway, so we're gonna just open up with some song and have some fun. And sometimes in life things don't work out the way you want, but that's why you have friends and community, so you can all go through that kind of stuff together. So anyway, take it away.
There's bagels in the back.
Just want tea and coffee too.
If I had $1 million,
if I had $1 million,
I'd buy you a house.
I would buy you a house.
If I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
I'd buy you furniture for your house.
maybe a nice Chesterfield or an ottoman.
And if I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you a K car.
a nice Reliant automobile.
And if I had $1 million, I'd buy your love. If I had $1 million, I'd build a tree fort in my yard. If I had $1 million,
You could help, it wouldn't be that hard.
if I had $1 million, maybe we could put a nice fridge in there somewhere. Like we could just go up and hang out. If I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you a fur coat.
Not a
a fur coat, that's cruel.
And if I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you an exotic pet.
Yep, like a llama or an emu.
And if I had $1 million,
if I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you John Merrick's remains.
ooh, all them crazy elephant bones.
And if I had $1 million, I'd buy your love. If I had $1 million,
You wouldn't have to walk to the store.
if I had $1 million,
Take a limousine, cause it costs more.
if I had $1 million,
You wouldn't have to eat craft dinner.
But we wouldn't eat craft dinner.
We'd just eat more.
if I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you a green dress.
but not a real green dress, that's cruel.
And if I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you some art.
A Picasso or Garfunkel.
And if I had $1 million,
if I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you a monkey.
Haven't you always wanted a monkey?
If I had $1 million, I'd buy your love. If I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million.
if I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million.
if I had $1 million, I'd be rich.
Thank you, David and band. Woo! Woo! So, hey, I just want to welcome you guys again. We've got a great lineup today with Anya Klassen as our presenter. So yay, Anya. And Jay Bickford will be reading for us today. So I think you know we've always had a great program, and we've got another one today. So today, Aaron, do you have something for our little meet your neighbor icebreaker?
Sure. Yeah, so if you guys want to, today we're talking about ethnomusicology, and that's kind of like how music speaks to us. I'm totally overly shortening it. But one thing that you could discuss amongst your friends at your table is a song that pairs well with a memory in your life, or your favorite song.
All right, we'll just take a few minutes and kind of talk about our favorite songs and our a song that has a strong memory attached to it.
I'm John. There we go. There was one that was completely out of date.
I know,
But it's Valentine's Day.
Oh yes.
How'd you find out about this?
Originally, about a year ago, I was overseas. I have a condo in Southeast Asia. And I go there a couple months out of the year. And I was listening to Ken Gillette. I started listening to some of this stuff. I knew who he was, but I didn't know the name. He used to show it back. I get it every week. I'm not really sure how I and he mentioned this. He mentioned Sunday Assembly. He had the guy who started Sunday Assembly as a guest on his show. Also, he did a thing at his crazy house that he had for Sunday Assembly thing. He did in Las Vegas. I happened to be there. And I drove up, and that was insane because it was in his and his place is just crazy. You got to see it. It's really good.
okay. Yeah, that's
Jonah
great.
and
I bought some of those.
Jonah and Bacon. Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
No meaningful story.
Yeah.
That's why on Canvas on the street.
Do it instrumental.
I don't know if they started in Las Vegas or not. I mean, it's another, it's all over the world. It's got, some cities up there are bigger than others. So.
Of course, we play the whole song.
That's cool though.
Like you cut it off like at one of the lines weird spot.
It's probably bigger in some areas.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where I'm noticing more things.
They were doing some shows some place in the Bible.
Right.
Thinking people would be very opposed to it, but they weren't. There's a whole lot of supporters. Quite a few. I would almost think in those areas there might be more supporters.
Right before me and my dad went on. No, I didn't see it. There was like a hitchhiker that just apparently just walked across the road. Yeah, it was in public park. But we went this guy just decided.
They might have like because this is America. It's not Pakistan.
But I didn't see it. Matt told me about it later. Is that
Because if you killed for not wearing a veil,
I was like, just like, I was probably in an emotional moment. Well, yeah, given what was going on. You know what song always, besides
South Africa is a place I've never been to.
always connected with me?
And let's see, I wouldn't go, but I don't know how excited
It's not
I
a
feel
band
about
that
that. That just sounds dangerous to me. And I spent a certain amount of time in Cambodia, right next to the island where I have my condo.
Yes, it is. We're just kind of talking about a favorite memory from the song right now.
But I go there and get
Yeah,
some
it's.
wrong, I get
So that's what we're.
So I see all the alcohol stuff to me. A lot of people from Australia or like from New Zealand like to drink, and that's my only delicate drink. Quite something. I'm Aaron.
I'm Leslie.
Hi, I'm Megan.
I'm John.
That sings it.
I went to my mother's place today. She's and some man is in a room that wasn't supposed to be there. She's in a real chair. She's dementia slash relieved, and I didn't want to go. And I was trying to get out and get
No, I really like it. Yeah, it's not that was actually we're the ones in most guys aren't. It seems like every guy I've talked to is like, oh, I don't. They're either like, I don't care or I hate the holiday. Sometimes, you know, that's all. People who have lived here. Yeah.
It's like my mother. Any excuse to bring cupcakes or cake there or something. Like flowers that I do. She likes it. I don't know where she is.
Hello! Wow, that's really loud. So, I hope you've all discussed your favorite songs and stuff. I thought since I'm talking about music, and this is all very personal to me, I might share a bit about my favorite song, which happens to be one we're singing later. It's a song called Weeping, which is a South African song that came up in the 1980s. And one of the reasons it's so important to me and to many people in South Africa is it's a fairly upbeat pop song in a lot of ways. Josh Groban has sung it, many pop stars have sung it. But there's a specific just musical progression hidden in the song that goes a little bit like this. It's just a pretty little set of chords, sounds very vaguely hymn-like, not anything a lot of people would notice sort of in the middle, tagging along to the end of a chorus of a song. But what those chords actually are some of the notes to the song Nkosi Sikelel' Africa, which is now the national anthem of South Africa and of several African countries. And in the 1980s, during apartheid South Africa, that song was banned. But the apartheid censors let it through because they didn't notice it, because it was just the musical notes. And because they let it through, that song became kind of a rallying point and became a very important song sort of to the apartheid resistance. And it's just a few notes. It's not a word in there that mentions anything about Africa itself, but it's a really powerful thing to know that that can mean so much to a lot of people. So that's why it's one of my favorite songs. And now we are going to continue with our songs, and we have no words for you, but if you would like to Google them and pull them up on your phones, you're welcome to do that. Otherwise, you might know this song. It's from a little movie called The Lion King. And just one caveat, we do not expect anyone to sing in Zulu.
Yeah.
But if you would like to,
You're welcome to.
if you remember like the building bit of the beginning of that movie, there's a sequence of words that is chanted. And if everyone is up to it, I thought we could teach you those words, and we could do that as a little bit of an intro once we do our crazy bit. So the phrase is Engwen Bala. So let's break it down. So it's Engwen Yama, Engwen Yama, Engwen Yama Bala. So Engwen Yama Bala. So it's like penguin, but without the P. So do your best if you want to join us.
What does it mean?
You'll find it.
Oh, hold on. Actually practice that a couple times. Engwen Yama Bala.
So it's gonna go.
Engwinyama bala. Engwinyama bala. Engwinyama bala. Engwinyama bala.
See, you got it. It's all good.
See what I get for not presetting this. Continuing with the theme of technical difficulties this morning.
Next month we're going acoustic.
Yes, who says the sound tech?
Acoustic with cue cards up front. Yes! PowerPoints.
The shadow puppets would be awesome.
He's used the chord.
Tom's here.
Hey, Tom!
Yay, we love you, Tom.
Yeah, I understand. I'm thinking this part. So yeah, it's from here.
Nansingwenya magabitsi baba. Ngwenyama. Nansingwenya magabitsi baba. From the day we arrive on the planet and blinking step into the sun, there's more to see than can ever be seen, more to do than can ever be done. There's far too much to take in here, more to find than can ever be found. If the sun will high, the sapphire sky keeps bright and small, and the endless round to circle the line, and it moves us all through despair and hope, through faith and love, till we find our place. nobody can tell ya. There's only one song worth singing. They may try and sell ya, 'cause it hangs them up to see someone like you. But you gotta make your own kind of music, sing your own special song, make your own kind of music, even if nobody else sings along. You're gonna be knowing the loneliest kind of lonely. It may be rough going just to do your things, the hardest thing to do. But you gotta make your own kind of music, sing your own special song, make your own kind of music, even if nobody else sings along. So if you cannot take my hand, if you must be going, I will understand. 'Cause you gotta make your own kind of music, sing your own special song, make your own kind of music, even if nobody else sings along. 'Cause you've gotta make your own kind of music, sing your own special song, make your own kind of music, even if nobody else sings along.
Over here a little closer. Hendrik Verwoerd was Prime Minister of South Africa from 1958 until his assassination in 1966. Often called the architect of apartheid for his role in the implementation of apartheid during his tenure as Minister of Native Affairs, Verwoerd was the subject of a protest song composed by legendary composer Vuyisile Mini. The song, titled Nodanyama Verwoerd, Watch Out Verwoerd, became one of the most popular songs in South Africa. Mini's soulful compositions and booming voice led him to emerge as one of the most powerful organizers of the resistance. In the words of poet Jeremy Cronin, song had become an organizer, and he was the embodiment of this reality. The singing of Nodanyama was the statement of protest and a tribute to the strength of the freedom fighters. That song sounds like a fun song, said musician Hugh Masakawa, but it's really like, watch out Verwoerd, here comes the black man and your days are over. Known as the organizer of the unorganized, Mini was actively involved in the African National Congress and was one of the first to be recruited into its military inception in 1961. He was arrested in 1963 for political crimes, including sabotage and complicity in the death of an alleged police informer. When he refused to give evidence against his comrades, he was sentenced to death. Fellow prisoner Ben Turok describes him as walking defiantly to the gallows while singing Nodanyama. Turok's recollection reads, and then, unexpectedly, the voice of Vuyisile Mini came roaring down the hushed passageways. Evidently standing on his stool, with his face reaching up to a barred vent in his cell, his unmistakable bass voice was emanating from his final message in Hausa to the world he was leaving. In a voice charged with emotion but stubbornly defiant, he spoke of the struggle waged by the African National Congress and of his absolute conviction of the victory to come. Soon after, I heard the door of their cell being opened. Murmuring voices reached my straining ears. And then the three martyrs broke into a final poignant melody, which seemed to fill the whole prison with sound, and then gradually faded away into the distant depths of the condemned section.
Thank you, Jay. It's my pleasure to invite Anya Klassen up. She started out as a professional orchestral musician, so she's very talented in Los Angeles, going about her own business playing Beethoven and Brahms when she was introduced to the field of ethnomusicology. And she'll be able to tell you more about that. She moved to Durban, South Africa, where she received a bachelor's degree in the field and applied it to a career in arts and entertainment journalism. After over a decade in South Africa, she has returned to Minneapolis, and she's here to share some of her experiences with us. Everyone give it up.
Okay, so talking about ethnomusicology, there are so many different things I wanted to talk to you about today. There are probably a dozen different topics I could have talked about for 15 minutes at a time. Or if we wanted to really get into ethnomusicology, you'd probably be here until tonight. But I know it's Valentine's Day and you might have plans, so I tried to shorten it just a little bit. So what I'm going to get into is sort of the thought processes and how ethnomusicology changes the way you think about music. So, ethnomusicology. I'm not really good with PowerPoint, so don't expect anything visually fantastic up here. So one of the things that we think about very often is what is good music? What do we consider good music? I know a little bit earlier we talked about what's a song that's meant something to you. What's your favorite song? And just for a second, I want you to think about why that is. Why do you like it so much? And now I'm going to completely dismantle that. Tom can hit play. We don't have sound.
Oh, no. Sounds over here. Oh. Sorry about that.
You might be able to guess what song that is.
We've got a theme today. It's not ethnomusicology, it's technical.
Interestingly enough, the relationship to technology in music is something that ethnomusicologists started studying in the 1980s. As recording and radio and television became more popular, almost, as that became more of So, we have a song. Is this a good song? Do you like this song? Why? And you can go to the next one. Hey, play. How about this? Is this a good song? Okay. And this. And lastly, this one. Is this a good song? Okay, so when we think about what a good song is, what we're doing is imposing our own expectations. What do we like? What do we expect? What do we want the music to be? Which, if you're thinking in terms of ethnomusicology, is exactly what you don't want to do. What we're worried about is, what does the music want to be? What is the music trying to be? Within the context of this particular music, what are the expectations that allows that to be good outside of what we like? So, what is ethnomusicology though? There's a very simple way that my very first ethnomusicology professor phrased it. And it's a really good starting point, and ethnomusicology was originally called comparative musicology, which was to focus on non-Western styles of music. But it's gotten a lot more complicated, as social fields tend to do. So now there are quite a few definitions. And all of these are valid. All of these are different ways of approaching it. But generally, what I like to use is a study of music and how it relates to culture. Music and how it is culture. That's the best explanation I can come up with. Although some people have written a book on this, so. So then the question becomes, how do we study music that we don't understand? And I love this quote from Christopher Waterman: "The irreducible object of ethnomusicological interest is not the music itself, but the historically situated human subjects who perceive, learn, interpret, evaluate, produce, and respond to music." Which moves into this. This is the music culture model. So to understand and see how this model works, think back to a musical event that has moved you. Your favorite song, maybe. So at the center of that event is your experience of the music, sung and played by the performers. You might even have been one of the performers. The performers are surrounded by their audience, and the whole event is taking place in its setting within time and space. And that's a very small view, but if we expand that, then we transpose it into music culture. So at the center of the music is its emotional impact, whatever makes you smile or nod your head, sway your shoulders, or clap. We call that music's effect, its power to move, and its affective experience. So then the performance is what brings that power to move into being. And there's a lot around that, but people tend to mark performances as separate from the flow of ordinary life. It's something that happens, and it's marked, and it has a purpose. The performers intend to move the audience or not move them, to sing and play well or not well, to make money, to have fun, to learn, or to advance a certain rite or ceremony. The performance can be evaluated as it goes along, partly on how well those intentions have been fulfilled, or by the audience who will respond according to the traditions of that particular culture. They may cry out, they may applaud, they may dance, they may hiss, and the performers themselves evaluate it. They might smile if it's going well, they might do a weird little polka if they're caught lip syncing on Saturday Night Live. So surrounding that performance, instead of the audience, is the community itself. The community is a group that carries on the traditions and norms of performance. It's part of a people's culture. The community pays for and supports the music directly with money, or just by allowing the people and the performers to live and exist as musicians. How the community relates to the music makers has a profound effect on what is performed. And the final circle is time and space becomes memory and history. The community is situated in history and born by memory, whether it's remembered or recorded or written down. Musical experiences, performances, and communities change over time and space. They have a history, and that history reflects changes in the rules governing music as well as the effect of music on human relationships. For example, as I was talking about earlier, the development of radio recordings and television meant that music didn't need to be heard in the performer's presence, which was a very new concept compared to what had been done for the previous several millennia. It takes the performer out of the community's face-to-face relationships and allows people to listen to music without making it themselves. Today, music is an almost constant background to people's lives, but the musicians are largely absent. And I think we take that for granted without thinking that that's something that never existed before. So, now we're going to get into a bit of the components of music culture. And this is a huge thing, but I'm going to unpack just a part of it for you. Because, like I said, you probably have Valentine's Day plans. So this section is talking about ideas about music. And that starts out with belief systems. And that includes, where does music come from? In some cultures and some music, they might believe that music is inspired by God and not actually written by people. It might only exist for a certain purpose. It might have a connection with the supernatural. Or it might affect an altered consciousness. Just want to play. So this is a ceremony in Guinea-Bissau, and these can go on for hours and hours, where the music and the chanting brings about a trance state, which looks a little maybe hard to understand in this context, but if we look at it in this context, this is a trance festival. And in this instance, I believe this gentleman has ingested a substance that is allowing him to reach this state, but that's not uncommon. And here's another example. So in very early Christian music, chanting was used as a way of, basically a form of meditation that allows you to stop to focus purely on the words and the ideas of the belief system or the religion that they were a part of, and induce an altered consciousness. So it comes in a variety of forms. Interestingly enough, in sort of a biological argument, there's a scientist named Judith Becker who claims that deep listeners who are profoundly moved might even be moved to tears by listening to Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata or John Lennon's Imagine, could be similar to those who go into a trance in religious or ritual context. She does acknowledge that in order to enter a trance state, an individual must be socialized in the specific spiritual and ritual culture and must be well-versed in the expected outcomes of the ritual or ceremony. I had some personal experience with this. When I was in high school, I attended a friend's Pentecostal church, and everybody around me was speaking in tongues, and I had never been a part of that before. I didn't understand it, so I thought they were just praying in other languages, so I tried to pray in Spanish for a while. But obviously I wasn't going to get there because I hadn't grown up and I didn't really understand the expected norms and been indoctrinated into that particular culture, even though I tried. I didn't speak Spanish very well. So, okay, another important aspect is context. And context is the setting. It could be a specific place that music is performed, like a football field. It could be an occasion, like a birthday. It could be an event, like a sporting event. Or it could be in a specific environment. Or, Tom? Is it not? There we go. Okay, now I'm pretty sure that all of you immediately know where that song is played. There's a specific occasion, a specific event, and no other time that is played. How do we know that? Because it's part of our culture. So, here's another example of a specific environment. This is specifically an example from a prison, but this is part of a widespread genre of work songs, which have a particular particular focus and purpose in keeping people on rhythm, but it's a genre you only hear for working. So, apart from beliefs and context, we get into aesthetics, and this is where we determine what our culture decides what is pretty, what is not, what is ugly, what is appropriate or inappropriate. And Tom, could you skip about 50 seconds into this video?
I'm not sure how, I'm not sure I have that ability here.
I don't know how to edit videos.
I don't have that on here.
Let's give it a few seconds.
What you gotta do me for? You gotta always tell me the truth, just like you did before. Don't feel sorry.
well, even what we saw here at a rock concert, you would expect a concert to last a certain length. You would expect to have a certain reaction from the audience. Everyone is really conforming to acceptable behaviors. And if you deviate from those acceptable behaviors, then people look at you weirdly. Yeah. Almost there. Okay.
Okay, move forward through.
Oh, maybe. Okay, so history. So history involve events tied to a musical repertory. So what happens to music over space and time? Does it stay the same or does it change, and why? What did the music of the past sound like? Should music be preserved? So the timeline of musical history. It can also include genealogical references. Just 1 second, I want to explain this quickly. So within many African cultures, there is a specific musical genre of praise singing, and often it goes before a leader, and someone will, so in this context here, this would be the State of the Nation address in Cape Town, South Africa. I think it's from last year's State of the Nation address. So this is someone who's going with the president of South Africa, who is a Zulu chieftain, and using traditional forms to introduce him. And this is more of a poetry context, but it's also sung. And he's in traditional Zulu dress because this is a it's a role that's very deeply rooted in tradition, not one that is innovated or changed at all. So even in this official government context, when everyone else in the room is wearing a suit, he will always be dressed in traditional Zulu garb. So that's one time when you might have heard it. Another example of this would be in the Lion King song that we sung just now. That Zulu bit that the band and I did at the beginning is also within that framework of the praise singer who goes forward and introduces. So the translation of what we were singing, and you may not have known this, it's in the movie, it's in the Broadway show, is, "Hey, it's a lion. Yes, here comes a lion. Oh yes, it is indeed a lion." And it's a very simplistic lyric. Generally in these sorts of things, the praise singer will talk about the forefathers of the person. This was his grandfather, this was his great-grandfather, and also about great things he might have done. Like one time I totally saw him wrestling a lion and it was awesome, that sort of thing. So it's very deeply rooted in tradition, and genealogy has a huge effect on music in specifically African cultures. So a fifth aspect of the ideas are socio-political influence. So these are socio-political events that significantly impact the music of a specific culture. These may include war, famine, natural disasters, politics. So this particular example, this is Anya Klassen, who is an incredibly famous South African jazz musician who was who was very vocal in the fight against apartheid. He was exiled, so a lot of these videos take place outside of South Africa. This is a well-known song of his called Stimela, and the reason he's playing that cowbell is he's talking about, basically he's trying to imitate a train, which you can hear, but for a specific reason that in the 1960s and about then, a lot of African workers were migrated to various places by train to work in mines, to work in plantation fields and that sort of thing. And it displaced a lot of populations. These men would get on the trains, they might never see their families again, so the train became a very negative symbol. And this piece, I would encourage you to look up the entire video. It's an incredibly emotional piece. I've been lucky enough to hear him perform it a couple of times, and it always kind of drains me a bit, but yeah.
What's the title again?
Stimela, S-T-I-M-E-L-A.
We'll post a link on Facebook.
Yeah, I'll post some resources tomorrow on wherever Facebook or wherever that's appropriate, if anyone's interested in looking further into this, some ideas of where to go. This can also include social class hierarchies. Okay, so this might look like just a fun song, but James Brown in the 1960s, 1970s was very indicative of an emerging class of African Americans. So previously, the predominant popular musical forms for African Americans had been blues and gospel, which tend to be about, which historically dealt with topics about overcoming oppression and hoping that things would get better. But in the 1960s, African Americans things basically started to get a little bit better. With civil rights making gains, musical forms like blues and gospel didn't really sum up how people felt at that point. So a new genre sort of emerged, which was soul, which is like, hey, we're doing okay, this is cool. Interestingly enough, the blues genre sort of mutated into bands like the Rolling Stones and rock and roll, where disaffected white people who weren't maybe that happy about Vietnam and had some anger coming up sort of appropriated that genre, which is a whole other conversation. So what we've just discussed is one point in what is called the Sloban-Titan music culture outline, which goes into a lot more detail. This is point one, and I'm just going to quickly go through, not in detail, the rest of the points because we're running out of time. So the next point would be the social organization of music, which includes what music-making activities are, what the assignment of roles within the performers are, the hierarchies that are involved in the music. There's also repertories, which include the style, the genres, the texts, the composition, the transmission, how music is basically transmitted between one generation to another, one person to another, what movement is associated with that style of music. And then there's always also material culture, which might include things like what instruments are performed, or even if there are specific makeups or costumes. For example, think of band Kiss. That's a very specific material culture and a lot of things that are specifically associated with that. So, now that we've talked about this incredibly theoretical field, what do people who study ethnomusicology do? Obviously, the most obvious application is academia. Most people who study ethnomusicology end up in an academic field somehow, either lecturing or fieldwork. There's also an emerging need for electronic classification. I was actually interviewed for a position in San Francisco for a company that needed someone to help them classify their music. It was sort of an iTunes competitor who wanted someone to classify their South American music because they didn't understand the genres and how it was classified. Arts journalism, which is the field that I went into, actually accidentally. It wasn't what I was planning to do, but I believe that ethnomusicology is a fantastic start for anyone who wants to go into arts journalism because it does teach you to ignore what you want something to be and evaluate it on its own terms. Performance. Hey, there they are. A lot of ethnomusicologists do end up performing some, either within the culture they're studying or as a teaching tool. Music historians, and obviously museum work as well. So, I don't know if I have any time, but does anyone have any questions? I know I've thrown a lot of stuff at you.
What were you originally planning on doing?
That's a really long story. Complicated story. I was an orchestral musician, and I had originally intended to study ethnomusicology for 1 year, and then life happened and sort of pushed me in another direction. And I fell into arts journalism sort of by accident. It was a fantastic journey, and I love every step of it. But I didn't really intend anything for a while. Anybody else? and we're going to sing my favorite song.
Give it up again for Anya. I think that
I knew a man who lived in fear. It was huge, it was angry, it was drawing near. Behind his house, a secret place, was the shadow of a demon he could never face. He built a wall of steel and flame, and men with guns to keep it tame. And standing back, he made it plain that the nightmare would never ever rise again. But the fear and the fire and the guns remain. It doesn't matter now, it's over anyhow. He tells the world that it's sleeping. But as the night came round, I heard its lonely sound. It wasn't roaring, it was weeping. It wasn't roaring, it was weeping. And then one day, the neighbors came. They were curious to know about the smoke and flame. They stood around outside the wall, but of course there was nothing to be heard at all. My friends, he said, we've reached our goal. The threat is under firm control. As long as peace and order reign, I'll be damned if I can see a reason to explain why the fear and the fire and the guns remain. It doesn't matter now, it's over anyhow. He tells the world that it's sleeping. But as the night came round, I heard its lonely sound. It wasn't roaring, it was weeping. It wasn't roaring, it was weeping. Così si calela, tina, lo sopo io.
That was awesome. In the novel High Fidelity by Nick Hornsby, the main protagonist Rob Gordon is a record store owner and an uber music fan. There's a top 5 list for everything. Top 5 books, top 5 doesn't have a list for the top 5 reasons your iPhone shuts off. No. Top 5 Harvey top 5 books, top 5 Harvey Keitel movies, and for each of these he has a reason behind them. So today I thought I would share with you my top 3 songs and how they affected me. Number 3, Bob Dylan, Things Have Changed. In the past 2 years, changes have been a recurring theme in my life. I changed jobs, I went back to school, and changed my career path. As Dylan says, a worried man with a worried mind, no one in front of me and nothing behind. However, of course, you didn't invent the iPhone though. A worried man with a worried mind, no one in front of me and nothing behind. However, there was a door behind me, and it was going to change. My number 2 song was Three Little Birds by Bob Marley. For those of you who know me really well, I'm a worrier. It's like my favorite hobby. It's not. I worry about the weather. I worry if people are going to chuck tomatoes after this. No, I'm kidding. However, when I hear the lyrics, don't worry about a thing, because every little thing is going to be all right. Don't worry about a thing, because every little thing is going to be all right. It makes me feel that everything is going to be all right. My worries tend to go away, and I feel a lot better about myself. And my number 1 song, this is a band not a lot of people might have heard of. They're called the Double Clicks. The song is called This Is My Jam. I'll post it to our Facebook page too. Sometimes a song can help you identify who you are and how others you let others define you. And Angela says, I like to eat toast with jam, and you like to eat eggs with ham, and if you're in, we can be friends, because I have no problem with that. This to me says that nothing will put me in one category. I do like to eat eggs and ham and toast with jam, and with that I can be your friend. Thank you.
This is just kind of part of our program where we just take a moment of mindfulness and just kind of consider what's going on in our lives, and also kind of what we heard today. I think Anya gave us a lot to think about in terms of what kind of why do we like the music we like, and then also really having an open-mindedness to what other music outside maybe what we're used to, what that brings to the world. So let's just take a few seconds. Well, I'm just going to wrap things up here today. I just really appreciated Anya's talk today. You know, one thing that I am amazed about at Sunday Assembly is the wealth of knowledge and the interesting perspectives that each of our members bring. Because we bring in guest speakers, but we also bring in speakers like Anya that really have this wealth of background. I would have never thought to ask Anya about, you know, ethnomusicology. And shame on me for, you know, not knowing, you know, Anya enough to ask that question, but like that's the incredible thing about, I think, the community that we're doing here. We're not like a single focused community, and we're really here to learn from each other as much as we are from people that we might bring in, and really to kind of build that community where each person is valued, not just, you know, one person in the front of the room, and each person that is a part of Sunday Assembly has an opportunity to participate. So if that's something you're interested in, I really welcome you to as well. Just talk to some of our leadership. Our president's back in the back corner there, Erin McCoy, president and my wife, so I've got a little in there. But I just want everyone to know too, some of the other events that we have going on during the month. This Thursday at 7:30, you can come over to Erin and I's house in St. Paul to watch a TED Talk. We call it Wine with TED, and so we watch a few TED Talks and have some wine, beer, and cheese, and oftentimes our discussions spin into all kinds of different directions. It's a really good time, so hope you guys can join us. As well, one of the things we do, our motto here at Sunday Assembly is help live better, help often, and wonder more. And one thing that we've got going, Ben has set up every month an opportunity to serve homeless here in Minneapolis, and so that is a great opportunity to give back to the community, and we encourage you to do that. Where you have an opportunity as well. Tom, can you tell us, as far as trivia, pizza, and beer, are we still TBD? All right. So typically we've been going to Pizza Luce, and it's worked out really well, but they've changed their times, and it's not necessarily going to work out for everyone. So anyways, if you're a trivia junkie and like a good time with friends, that has also been a really popular event. And then if you have kids, or if you don't, but especially if you do, There's a secular family night, and this is something that is actually put on by Minnesota Atheists, but they invite us as well, and it's an opportunity to have kind of a date night, and they have got free childcare.
It's technically not Minnesota Atheists.
Oh.
Jill puts it on.
Never mind. Gotcha. She also promotes it on Minnesota.
She's involved in Minnesota Atheists.
But anyway, thanks for the correction, Aaron.
No, it's sorry.
No, that's right. But Aaron and I have attended, and it is a really good time. A lot of young couples and singles as well. So don't feel like you have to have kids to go, because we don't, and we eat all the pizza too. So. Yeah, I think that's what we've got going on. Next month, Sunday, March 13th at 2 p.m., we'll be meeting here again. If you have an idea for a spoof, an idea that you want to throw together for people to get together, feel free. Let Aaron know and contact us on Meetup, because it's all about connecting people with each other in different ways and making friends and supporting each other. So that's what Sunday Assembly is about. And we've got one more song here to look forward to, and what is it, David? Little doobie-doo. And afterwards, feel free to stay around, have some coffee, grab a bagel, and chat it up with somebody.
Or ask Anya more about her life story. It's fascinating.
I'd like to give you a little bit of context about the song, because I would be very surprised if anyone actually had heard this before. It's a South African song. It was incredibly popular. Do you remember how popular Call Me Maybe was a couple summers ago? This was that in South Africa around 2011. And the context of the song itself is talking back to the first free elections in South Africa, and just the feeling of joyousness and anticipation of those. There is one very quick line of Portuguese. Don't feel intimidated by this. This is an effect of having a country with 11 official languages. So the general chorus is pretty simple. You'll catch on.
Did you hear the news on the radio today? People have agreed to give their love away. I can't wait to be there in line, no. Politicians have agreed to honor and obey. They'll come down and listen to what the people say. I can't wait to be there in line, no. Hoping everyone they meet, open hearts will be the rhythm of the day. Neighbors will greet each other, the sisters and the brothers, even enemies will come to be friends. Oh, I can't wait to be there in line, no. I can't wait to be there in line, no. Say you know the meaning of love. See every person that you meet as every you and every me. Then I'll know you feel the rhythm of love, 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 love. I can't wait to be there tonight. No, no. Oh, I can't wait to be there tonight. No, no. No, no. Oh, do be, do be, do be, do bye. Do be, do be, do be, do bye. If you hear what I mean, clap and stomp your feet. If you hear what I mean, clap and stomp your feet. If you hear what I mean, clap and stomp your feet. If you hear what I mean, clap and stomp your feet. If you hear what I mean, clap and stomp your feet. If you hear what I mean, clap and stomp your feet. Do be what I mean, clap and stomp your feet. Hear what I mean, clap and stomp your feet. Do be what I mean, clap and stomp your feet. You hear what I mean, clap and stomp your feet. You hear what I mean, clap and stomp your feet. If you hear what I mean, clap and stomp your feet.
All right. Thank you very much for coming. Go and get to know each other better.
Thank you. Give it up for the band.
You are free to get coffee and chat. Go home if you want.